Well, I can't tell if everyone's on. I hope everyone is. But Cindy, come back. Cindy, come back. Welcome to our Challah braid. I'm Rabbi Ariel, if you don't know me. And this is my mom, Saralee.
Hi, welcome to my kitchen. So,
she's definitely more of the challah maven than I am, but I get to eat all her goodies. So the round challah, and not just the round challah, but challah in general. How many of you, you can get things up, raise your hand. How many of you have made challah before or make challah a lot?
Before.
Made it before, I don't make it a lot.
Me too, Pam.
This is your first time, and I'm really, this is great. I actually, the only time I've made it myself was probably never, so good. Because I just get to eat it. So this is going to be really fun. Although I didn't make this, I just get to roll it and braid it too. So the round challah, who knows about the round challah and why we do a round one for Rosh Hashanah? Does anyone? Yep, Diane, you can unmute.
Because life goes on. The year starts and it ends and we start again, and it's just everything keeps going, just like with the Torah.
Exactly. It is the cycle of nature. It's the cycle of life. We all go in a circle. We start and we come back to the beginning. And there's another reason, which you may not be as familiar with, but it sort of symbolizes a crown that you can, stick on your head. So it's considered God's crown. He's the high king, especially on Rosh Hashanah. But I really like the idea of it representing the year and our cycles. So actually, I think it'll be fun as we're braiding and creating our own round challahs, if we sort of think about other fun ways, other fun things it can symbolize, other round things. So we can play with it, have a little bit of fun. We're gonna have fun tonight doing all this good stuff.
so are we ready?
Ready.
Okay, so I was going over some of the types of challahs that I was going to demonstrate. And I have a 4-rope challah, a 6-rope challah, a 2-rope twisted challah, and a 1-rope challah.
Wow.
So you can choose the dough that you have. Will make 2 large challahs or 3 medium-sized. So you can decide what you want to do depending on your grouping or how many you want to try to make. So if you want to make 2 challahs, or 3, what I usually do is I'll take my dough and I sort of roll it, and then I roll it out into like a log, and then I take this larger knife and cut it into 2 or 3 pieces depending on how many challahs I'm going to make. So I'm going to start tonight with the 4-rope. The 4-rope is my favorite in how it looks. It's not the easiest. The easiest is the 2-rope, and believe it or not, the 6-rope, it sounds like it would be hard because there's 6 ropes, but it's actually pretty easy. So
what are the easiest ones again?
The 2-rope and the 6-rope is easy. And the very easiest one is a 1-rope that you just roll into a long snake and you sort of like will twist it into like a snail. So, okay, so let's start with, I'm going to start with the 4. I'm going to take my dough, and I sort of roll it into like a little bit of a log. It's easier for me to divide that way.
Should we make sure that there's flour on the...
Well, I usually will put a little bit of flour on my mat, but you don't need a lot. and I divide this into half, and then I divide the halves in half again.
I'm doing
I
challah
have
braiding.
4 pieces.
Everything good? Okay. Okay, I'm good. Play along.
Okay, I also, it's really interesting, for baking, I use these aluminum pans that I buy from like 7 Mile. I've tried all different baking pans and the bottoms always seem to get too dark. With this, for some reason, they always turn out perfect. So if you ever come across these for your challah, they actually help it keep its shape, and they turn out perfect. If you're going to use a baking pan, put some parchment paper on it. With these, I just spray it with some Pam.
Also, as we're doing this, or as my mom is doing this, if you have a question, feel free to call out. You can unmute yourself, or you can write it in the chat box.
Okay, so now that I have it into 4 pieces, I sort of use my hands and sort of squeeze it into like a little bit of a snake before I roll it. It helps me get it into the right shape. And I'm going to make these about 10 inches long, not by squeezing it, but by just now. So now that it's already into the shape of like a rope, I'll put it down on my mat. And when I roll it, I start in the middle and then I roll out to the ends. And it's okay if you want your ends to be a little bit skinnier than the middle. So you want these to be about 10, maybe even 12 inches if you can get it that long. But this one's actually even a little longer. This one turned out to be 16. And you'll find that even after you roll it, they shrink up a little bit. So the dough should be pretty pliable and easy, not real sticky.
What do you do if it's sticky?
If it's sticky, then put a little bit of flour in your hands. Sometimes if I have trouble rolling it, I'll even put a little bit of oil in my hands.
You know what, Saralee, did you want to tell them, like you told me today, if they have raisins, they can, before they roll it out, to put the raisins in the dough?
Right, so for my stuffed challah, I use raisins. But if you want to do like just a plain raisin challah, your next one that we can do, you can add the raisins right into your dough before you roll it out.
And Saralee, for baking it, can you use aluminum foil or you recommend parchment paper?
You know what, I've never used aluminum, but you can just put it right in your baking pan then, you know.
Okay.
But maybe, you know what, I don't know, maybe the extra, maybe someone else might have more experience with that. Does the extra aluminum just give it a little more of a barrier so it doesn't burn?
Maybe if you use the non-stick aluminum foil.
It might work. Okay.
Yeah. How long should the rope be?
You know, I would say a minimum of 10 inches. Mine are turning out to be about like around 14. So, you know, to me, around challah, you know, signifies the cycles of life and continuity. And, you know, especially right now with COVID, we're going to be doing braids, which is knotting and twisting. And feels like life right now is one big knot and a twist. But when it turns into this round challah, it's something that's going to be beautiful. So maybe at the end of all of this, maybe this will be beautiful too. We've learned some things about ourselves and our families and the world, and hopefully it'll help us as we get ready for Rosh Hashanah. Okay, so how's everybody doing with their rolling?
Yours
Can you
looks
see?
longer than 14.
Does everybody have 4 that wants to do this one?
Not yet.
Okay, well, take your time.
Okay.
They don't all have to be exact.
I'm late. Were we supposed to do two braids?
Well, you know what? Do if you want 2 large challahs,
4 balls.
right? So just do
Balls
4
or
balls
balls?
for one, and don't do the other one yet. And we can have some discussion about what you want. And the 4 balls you're going to roll into 4 snakes, 4 ropes.
Okay.
Okay. So if you've rolled them, is the majority rolled?
Yep.
Okay, so I laid 2 together next to each other, and I sort of make like a tic-tac-toe. The other 2 I lay across and towards the middle, and I go over and under. And the next one, I go under and then over.
Can everyone see?
So I've made, and I try to get it close to the middle as possible.
Is that better?
So it sort of looks like like a tic-tac-toe. So you have 2 ropes that you've laid across, and then you've put 2 going across it vertically. And went over the first rope and under the second one. And the second rope, I've gone under the rope and then over. So it makes like a weave.
It's like weaving
Okay.
a basket.
Not working. Let's do that again.
Yeah.
So the one the 2 on top, you twisted or changed places with the one that's going across.
Okay, so what I've done is,
So
so I've laid 2 horizontal, and then I take one of the ropes, the third rope, and I go towards the middle of the horizontal, and I go over the first rope and under the second. And then for the next one, I go under and over. So it makes like a weave. Does everybody have that?
Got it.
Not sure.
Got it.
feel free to show what you have. We're all in this together. So.
Yeah, Ariel,
Don't be
you wanna
embarrassed.
put this towards my picture?
Is there space in between them? Yes.
A
Okay.
little bit, yeah. Can you see it better?
Yes, that's better. Just
Okay, so I put 2 of the ropes horizontal, and then this one I went over and under, and this one I went under and over. So it's like a tic-tac-toe, and it's a weave. Okay, so now we're going to start braiding. And when you braid, you always go under one first. So the 2 that are next to each other, the under goes over, and you just twist. Do you see what I did? The one that was under goes over the one next to it.
So
Yep.
it's the one that's on your.
Does everyone see that?
Yep.
Okay. Then I go to the next one. The one that's under goes over, and I've twisted.
Okay.
And then this one under, over, and this one under, over. So now you sort of have like another tic-tac-toe. And before we went counterclockwise, Now we're going to be going clockwise. So now the one that's under goes over its neighbor. The one that's under goes over its neighbor. The one that's under goes over its neighbor. The one that's under goes over its neighbor.
It's going to be very pretty.
Now we're going to go counterclockwise again. The one that's under goes over its neighbor. Oh. Is everybody following? The one that's under goes over its neighbor. The one that's under goes over its neighbor. The one that's under goes over its neighbor. And I have enough dough to do one more. If you don't, and you're used up all your dough, just stop for a
I'll
moment.
write it down.
I go under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over. So now you have like little pieces of dough around each one. And I just sort of, I don't make them too short, but I just trim them a teeny bit. And then I twist it underneath. Twist it underneath. Twist it underneath. Twist it underneath. And you will have, can you see?
It's beautiful.
A pretty round
It's really beautiful.
4-braid challah. And then I put it just into my round pan that I've sprayed with Pam. And before you bake these, they need to rise like an hour. And it will fill out the pan. And then you put your egg wash and you bake it on 350 for 30 minutes.
So Saralee, I'm still doing under over. I'm almost done. What did you do after that? What did you cut off and how did you twist them underneath?
Then the little ends that are left over, you can just sort of twist them and put them underneath to make it look like a pretty circle.
Tuck them in. Okay.
But sometimes I have like odd pieces of, some are much longer than others, and I just sort of trim it a little bit.
Just sticking them all under.
So to me, when this bakes up, it makes a gorgeous round challah.
Whoa.
So if you don't feel like baking it today and you want to bake them tomorrow, okay, what you do is you would just cover it. And at this point, you can just stick it in the fridge and then tomorrow take it out for like 2 hours and then stick it in the oven. Okay?
Yep.
So here's our first challah.
Woohoo.
The second challah that I'm going to make is a cinnamon raisin challah, and it's going to be a twist made out of two pieces of dough.
Did we put the egg on top before?
You know what? I don't put the egg wash on top of it until I'm ready to bake it. So if you're going to bake these tonight, you let it sit out for like an hour. Then you put your egg wash on and bake it on 350.
For the second rising, do you cover it or leave it uncovered?
On 350.
You know what? I leave it uncovered.
Just on the counter? Just uncovered on the counter, not in the fridge?
Uh-huh.
But overnight in the fridge, you cover it with what? Saran wrap or something?
Saran.
Okay.
So if you're going to put it in your pan and you don't want it to rise again now, you just cover it with saran.
Okay.
And you just stick it. You know what? For the second rising, to get it nice and warm, you could cover it with a little bit with a towel. I would cover it, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one that I'm going to make is a cinnamon raisin challah. So here's my dough. I'm going to take And if you don't like raisins, you can even use chocolate chips. I use about a half a cup. About a half a cup of raisins. Okay, so I take my raisins and I just fold them into my dough. What?
Cinnamon on top or what?
And if you don't want cinnamon and you just want a raisin challah, you can just do it like this. You don't need to add any cinnamon to it. You know what? Now that we added the raisins to this one, my pan, well, that's okay.
Here are raisins.
Okay, so my raisins are pretty well mixed in. And I'm going to divide this into 2 pieces. And you're going to want this to be a very long and skinny, well, a long one. And then we're going to take a rolling pin, if you have one, and we're going to flatten it out. So does everyone have a rolling pin in your kitchen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do.
If you do, go get one now.
One?
Yeah, what is it?
If we're going too fast, let us know.
You're going to want this to be at least 12 inches.
Is that half of it, or do you use this or all of it?
Each one, because one. And did everyone see my my recipe for the filling, the cinnamon filling?
Yeah.
That was on the recipe sheet. And you don't have to stuff this one if you don't want. You can just do it as a regular plain challah if you wanted to. It's just another way to braid. But this is the one that I use when I stuff. And it makes a really pretty braid in itself.
How long did you go?
Mine, believe it or not, are like 18 inches.
And you want it to be flat?
Okay, so then what we're gonna do, and I'm gonna, after you've rolled it,
Mom seemed to ask if you want it to be flat.
yeah, after you've rolled it into a snake, we're gonna take our rolling pin and we're gonna flatten it.
Should they put flour on it?
Well, I put flour on my rolling pin so it doesn't stick, but because you're gonna roll this, you're gonna stuff this, and then you're gonna roll it like you would a jelly roll. So it can be thin and flat.
Saralee, I have to say, hi, it's Becca.
Hi.
Yours come out much cleaner than mine. I got my whole house all dirty when I was doing mine.
You know, I'm usually the Tasmanian devil when I cook. And then I always like to have a clean kitchen when my company comes, and
I used to get to clean all that stuff up.
okay, so I have my cinnamon filling. I didn't add my oil yet. I was waiting for the class, but I have it mixed.
What should it? Oh, that's part of the filling.
Right. So did you see my cinnamon filling recipe?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to mix it now. I waited until class to put the oil in it.
About how thin you have them?
Okay, so what you do then is you lay it on your, and I need a little more oil. This is going to be like a sticky bun. It gets gooey and it's pretty decadent. Okay, so now that I've got my filling, I'm going to take it and I just sort of smear it on top of the dough that I've rolled out and flattened. And I flatten it wide and long because you're going to roll it up like a jelly roll to make your rope shape again. Last week, I made it with like chocolate chips and cinnamon. That was really good too. I've even made like a babka filling that's like cocoa and laid that on top of it before I rolled it.
Ask her about her peanut butter and jelly filling.
Yeah, sometimes I'll just spread peanut butter and jelly and then roll it up. That's Ariel's favorite. Okay, so if you can you see mine? Ari, can you? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to roll it like a jelly roll with the filling inside. And the thinner your dough, the better because it makes it more cinnamony. So now I have 2 long snakes that are stuffed with cinnamon, and just try to pinch the edge onto the rope. And if it opens up, it's okay. The ends you're going to pinch. This is messy, but it's worth it. I'm just sort of rolling and twisting it until it into a jelly roll. Twist the ends, pinch it closed. Okay. Okay, then I move them close to each other And I'm going to join the two ends, and I'm going to make a twist. Huh, this is not wanting to stay closed today. Okay, so now I'm going to twist one over, just over each other. Belly is opening up here, but it still will be really good. So don't worry if that happens to yours too. So can you see that I'm twisting them? So it's turning into one stuffed, twisted rope. Okay. So I have a long twisted rope. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I'm going to make a snail, roll it into itself. And at the very end, I just take it, slide it underneath, and sort of pinch it a little. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
It's really going to be yummy. And then when you put your egg wash on it before you bake it, I even sprinkle some more sugar on top and cinnamon.
You'll also cook this in a round pan.
Yeah, so I'm going to take this, I'm going to pick it up, and put it in my round pan. Can everybody see this one? Can you see it?
Yep.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi.
Rona.
Oh, hi, Rona. Thank you for your call. Shana Tova.
I'm going to move this for right now because it's covered in cinnamon. I should have done this one last.
This looks like a cinnamon bun.
It is. It's really good. Okay, so the next one that I'm going to make is a 6 braid. And if you're not a big cinnamon lover, but you want just something with raisins, you can just add raisins to your dough if you like, or you just leave it plain.
I made 1 raisin and 1 cinnamon in a hurry.
So with this one,
Now I got a mess.
no, but it's going to be worth it, believe me. So this is my 6 braid. I'm going to divide this into 6 pieces. And this is actually really easy. Oops, I'm shedding here. Okay, so I'm gonna roll 6 snakes.
I'm gonna have to
We're
make
gonna
more
weave
dough
it.
to do this.
Sometimes if my hands get too dry, it works better if I put a little bit of oil on it, believe it or not. That's one. You know, this seems so easy when we were kids and it was Play-Doh. Sometimes I sit and roll and they just don't look wonderful. So you don't need to be a perfectionist if you have some issues with the rolling.
Technically, it is Play-Doh. You're playing with dough.
That's true, Harry. And because this is 6, it's going to be a little bit skinnier. But after we eat it, we're not going to be a little bit skinnier. This COVID has not been so wonderful for my waistline. You wouldn't think putting a little bit of oil on your hands actually makes it easier to roll, but it does.
Saralee, how long are these smaller ones?
You know what, I would still think probably about what, 8 to 10. Give me my measuring tape. It's from my knitting thing. I had to, my mat that had the measuring on it is covered in cinnamon. But you want it to be at least 10.
And the oil that you're using to put on your hands, is that vegetable oil?
It's vegetable canola oil. Sometimes I find that easier, believe it or not, than flour. If it gets too dry, I have a hard time getting it to roll. Just measure it and see. So these are, oh, they're a little longer. Mine are like 15.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, like this one is dry and it won't roll, but if I put some oil in my hand, you'll see all of a sudden it just goes. Okay, so I'm going to show you what you do with the 6 braid. It's actually, this one is pretty fun. So you're going to lay 3. Sort of next to each other with some spacing. Can you see what I just did? I put 3. And then, remember how we did the 2 braid over and under? We're going to do that, with a 4 braid, we're going to do that with these ropes. And we're going to put it towards the middle. The first one is going to go over, under, and over. So if you started with over, the next one you're going to start under. Under, over, under. So they should be different, just like we did with the 4 braid. And then the third one is going to be the same as the first. Over, under, over. Can you see? Does anyone have any questions with what I did? Are we good?
Yep.
Okay, so then we have 3 pieces here, 3 pieces here, 3 pieces here, and we're just going to braid each one of these groups of 3. So just going to do a braid. Does everyone know how to do a braid?
Take a picture.
Does everyone see what I just did? Now I'm going to do this side. When Rabbi Platt was a little girl, I would make her sit on a stool every morning and I would braid her hair all different ways. So she's the reason I can do challah. And maybe that's why she can't braid, because I always did her hair. Okay, so. Okay, so does everyone see what I have? It's sort of like a weave in the middle, and then it has 4 braids. Then what you do is you just pick up this braid, you pick all the braids up, and you sort of grab them in the middle like this, like a basket. And then you just flip. And you just sort of make it go into like a circle.
Oh, wow.
Put it in your pan. And it looks small, but because there's so much dough braided, it's actually going to really grow. Can you see that one?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's a 6 braid. So right now we've done a 6 braid, the 4 braid, and the 2 twisted stuffed one. The next one is just, you can take 1 piece and you roll it out into a really long rope and you just snake it. And to give it some height in the middle, I'll take just a little bit of dough and roll it out into like a disc and lay it in the middle of the pan and then put that snake on top. So I'm going to get fancy with this one. And I bought, and I've never done this, but I'm going to try it. I bought some apple pie filling. And I'm going to take this back out now. I guess I can't do it. I'm going to take this and I'm going to put some raisins in it. Got a 1/2 cup again. And Ariel and her family are going to be my guinea pigs with this year. If any of you have a bundt pan, you could even roll out a square piece of dough with like raisins if you want, and you can cut it into strips and roll the strips up and put that in your bundt pan around the middle. It'll turn into like a pull-apart challah, but when you flip it over, you could put some honey in the middle if you want, and it can be, you know, if you did this with your apple filling like I'm going to be using. So, okay, so I mixed my raisins into this. And now I'm going to roll this out. Let me get another one of those. Bigger than this. There, I've got this one. I like these silicone mats. For some reason, they just seem to work better for me when I roll things out on them.
What she's doing.
You put some with
I'm gonna
I
roll
leave
this probably
challah
like,
on the mat and bake it on the mat.
you can bake on these. You can bake
Yeah,
up
I
to
do. I do.
450,
They
I
come
think.
out nicely.
So I'm gonna roll this to probably like 15 by 20 if I can.
You have one new message. New message. 1 Wednesday, 6:40 p.m.
And you want to try to get it as thin as possible because the more filling you have, the better. I'm going to roll this up afterwards, again, like a jelly roll. I went to Italy this last year, and there was a woman that was giving us a cooking class on making pasta. And she said, if you roll your dough around your rolling pin, it helps to flatten it. You can stretch it better. I do your muscles. Okay, so I think this is probably okay. Okay, again, I'm going to take my cinnamon. I'm going to mix it, like, I'm just going to put it on top of this dough. And I had some issue with it sticking last time. So I'm going to try something new. I'm just going to take a little bit of oil, put it on the edge. Maybe that'll help it stick. I know sometimes you can do that with egg also. Okay, so now I have my cinnamon. And I'm sort of rubbing it into the dough. And I'm gonna, that apple pie filling that I showed you earlier, the pieces were sort of big. So I took a scissor and I chopped them up. I'm just gonna lay a little bit of those more towards the beginning. Because if I roll this up like a jelly roll, I don't want it all at the end. I'm sort of smashing it in. So this is like my apple raisin challah. I've never made this before. So I'll have to have Ariel put on a blog or something after the holidays to see if it turned out. But it sounded like it, when I was thinking about it, it sounded like it would be good. Okay, so now I don't have any apple from midway point up, but I'm gonna roll this again like a jelly roll. And I'm gonna try to do it tight. I don't want it to be real fat. I'd rather have it skinny, as skinny as I can and long. And if my dough is tearing a little bit, that's okay, because we're gonna roll it. This is raisin, cinnamon, and apples. Now I'm up to the end where I put that oil, and I'm gonna see if I can get that dough to really stick. Last time, like I said, it didn't do it so wonderful. And I'm gonna squeeze it and actually make it skinnier. Try to stretch it a little if I can. And you can see, I don't know if you can see that it's growing. Look, it's growing and tearing. Okay, so I'm gonna, again, at the ends, I'm gonna squeeze the ends together. And I'm gonna try to roll this as even as possible. You can see here it came open a little bit, but it's going to be rolled in with other dough, so I'm not worried. And again, put the end underneath, sort of squeeze it. And this one is a cinnamon, apple, raisin challah. And that apple pie filling should just cook right inside. Can everybody see this one? Okay. And this was with one long rope. You don't have to stuff this. It can be plain challah, or it could be challah with raisin. Just use your imagination. Whatever it is, I'm sure your family's gonna love it.
I'm sure I will.
So give these about an hour to rise. And then take your egg wash and brush it on there. Bake it 350 for 30 minutes. The ones that are stuffed, sometimes I put them in for an extra 5 minutes. I want to make sure that the dough is actually cooked. And sprinkling on top of the egg wash for the sweet ones, I sprinkle cinnamon sugar. For the plain ones, I'll do sometimes just a little bit of kosher salt, or just leave it plain, or I'll take the bagels, the everything bagel seasoning, and sprinkle that on top too. So those are my, today we did a 4 braid, a 6 braid, a 2 braid twisted, and a 1 piece snake. So does everyone want to show what your challahs look like? Wow, Linda, those are beautiful.
Let me ask.
Liz, that's beautiful.
Like Linda, no.
Yeah, I saw Liz. Anybody else?
I have a question. Your egg,
Sure.
you use just straight egg, or do you add some water to it?
You know, I just use straight egg.
Okay.
Oh, that's beautiful too. Look at that one. That's Ted. It says Ted.
Welcome back.
Hi, Haley.
Hi.
Say
Hi,
beautiful
Susan. That's
hello,
beautiful.
Bobby.
Hi, Bobby. Hi, Jordan. Hi, Mama.
So cute. Thank you so much. This was so much fun. I can't wait to eat them.
Oh, you're welcome. If anyone has any questions.
Mama.
Oh, that's beautiful too.
Say
Look at
Shana
those. I'm
Tova.
all excited.
Hi, Mama.
Can you say
Thank you
Shana
so
Tova?
much.
Hi, Mama.
Yeah, if anyone ever has any questions and has like a bread machine and wants to know what to do with those later on.
Shana Tova, everybody.
Shana Tova.
Let me add-
Happy and healthy New Year.
Thank you so much.
You're
I'm-
welcome.
So much. This was so much fun. Have a great evening. And I love like Haley's debut at the end.
Yes, I'm sure all your challahs are going to be delicious.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
happy,
you,
healthy
thank
holiday.
you, Saralee.
Thank you, everybody.
Saralee, if I can add one thing that got me in class was that with so many people having an electric oven instead of gas, with an electric oven to get a good crust, what you do is put a pot of water in the oven as well.
Oh,
Humidity very high, and that's what I do.
and do you leave that in the whole time?
Yes.
And make sure your oven is completely preheated. Some people, cheat a little and put it in before the oven's preheated. But make sure it's preheated.
Is it just a saucepan of water? Just fill up a saucepan of water and put it on a different rack?
As long as it's got a good handle, yes.
Okay, because I have an electric stove.
Put it in the refrigerator.
I just fill a pot with water and put it in the oven.
Okay.
It's all good.
Okay,
thanks,
Lashana
Mom.
Tova, everybody.
Thank you, Saralee. You're wonderful.
Oh, you're
Thank you,
welcome.
Rabbi.
My pleasure.
Thank
See you
you.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Good
Hope you
holiday.
have a good Yontif. Take care.
This has to rise.